Okay, good morning, everyone. How are you? How is everything? I'm bidding everyone right now in. The internet is kind of
Good
slow,
morning,
so
Miss
if
Mike.
you can't hear me, tell me. If it's kind of slow, you can't see well, tell me too. Okay, I would like you to open up the camera today so that we can discuss. I can see
Good
you
morning, Miss Mike.
right now, yes. And great, excellent job, Mazen, Ragad. Good morning, Mazen. How are you? How is everything going? Great?
I'm good, Amis. How are you?
Okay, great. It's great to see you. I want to hear also, so open up your audio so we can talk. Last time, let me admit everyone who's in. Okay, last time we talked about Skinner and we talked about it more in depth, right? Before in the exam, before the winter break, we talked more about operative conditioning for Skinner and classical conditioning for Pavlov in general. Okay, we talked more about Pavlov than Skinner, and we said that after the winter break, we'll talk more about Skinner. Okay. Good morning, Roland. How are you? How is everything going? Okay. So right now we are going to complete with Skinner. Before we do, I just have a reminder for all of you that make sure you go to Corso Novia and do the homework assigned, okay? Every 2 weeks, we're gonna have one quiz, 2 assignments, and 2 homeworks from now on, okay? So right now, by Saturday, you need to turn them in. I will upload the rest of the homework next
Miss, when will due date of the
so by
homework?
tomorrow night, do the first one, and then by that time, we'll have the other ones uploaded, maximum, okay?
Miss Mai,
So please do the homework that you have, review the PowerPoint, review the
Miss
session.
Mai,
As we said before, it's very important for you to organize your time. From now on, we'll go into topics and issues that need review, okay? So you need to review. As I said, from the beginning of the year and the beginning of this semester. If you don't review, okay, you will not, be comfortable or, kind of incorporate the different information. Okay, you can, but it's going to take longer, right? You have other subjects, you have other projects, you have, a lot of things, and this is your last year. And I want you to have fun with the material. I want you to really, feel it, have fun with it, debate, have your own perspective, because it's very nice. What we're going to talk about is very nice, very important for you, especially if you like psychology, and it's going to be really nice. We're going to talk about educational psychology, we're going to talk about child psychology. If you're interested to go into the field, for sure, this semester is very important for you and for you to review and concentrate on it. Obviously, you have your other classes and they're very important. This one is too.
Miss Mai,
For you if you want to pursue in that field, okay? And in general, obviously, it's very, very important. We're going to talk
Miss
about therapy,
Mai,
we're going to talk about behavior therapy. So this semester is different than last semester. It's more the practical and application part. And it's more the
Miss
part of
Mai,
the real world. Last semester was more history, it was more, the founders, more
Miss
of
Mai,
part. This semester, it's more of today's world and how in today's world you have psychology from child psychology to educational psychology to learning and memory to different kinds of therapies, clinical psychology. Hopefully, when we get there, and counseling, obviously. Okay, so I want you
Miss
to make sure
Mai,
you organize yourself so you're on top of things, you understand the material, so it doesn't get complicated and you're lost. It's not like a specific question I don't understand, right? We want to, in this semester, really go into the details, especially that behavior.
Miss Mike, can you hear us?
The kind of small details
Miss
that you
Mai.
need to understand well. Okay, so yes.
واضح
Can
انها
you hear us?
مكمله ومش
Okay,
جايزه
great.
بنزين.
I'm very happy you're here. Please, everyone, open up your camera so I can see you. And
مش معانا
ما
اصلا.
بتردش ليه؟ يا Miss Mike, can you hear us?
so right now, what we're going to go back to is Skinner.
هي مكمله كده مش شاريه
Who
حاجه.
remembers what we talked about last time in Skinner? Like Maz and everyone else.
Good morning.
Okay.
Miss Ariel,
Yes, I can hear you right now. Okay, great. I'm so sorry. I couldn't hear you. I thought I had the audio on. I have the it's the what's it called? The headphones, the earphones, right?
no, it's okay, Miss.
You were talking, yes, I couldn't hear you. I'm sorry.
No,
Okay,
no,
now
it's
I can hear
okay.
you. What were you saying?
The due of the homework, which Saturday? Yesterday and or the next Saturday?
Okay, this Saturday, right? Okay, so this Saturday would be the due date.
The coming one, right?
The coming one, yes, obviously. Okay, in the end of this week we'll have the quiz for sure, because last week it was the first week, this week is the second week. So make sure you review, make sure you study the different materials we took so far. Anyways, didn't take anything really new if you see, except for yesterday, on Thursday we took about Skinner in more detail. Before that was overview, and you know them all. Okay, so I want to concentrate on Skinner, what we took from Thursday and today.
يوسف عشان انت سامعك 1 2 3 على الدي جي
سمع
وات الدي جي.
Okay. Okay, great. So, okay, are you ready? Yes? Okay, so let us start into Skinner. What do you remember from Skinner? I remember Abdullah, he's not here. He was very nice. He gave us nice examples for the schedule. We talked about the ABC schedule. Before we said, anyone remembers what is it? Did you review? Do you remember? The ABC. What does ABC represent? What's A in ABC? Antecedent, right? Behavior and antecedent behavior, and also consequence. Okay, so you have the first one is antecedent. It's a schedule because it's an order. So you can't have C before A or B before C. Okay, so A is antecedent, B is behavior, C is consequence. Okay, I need you to know these terms and to know how they are in the theory, okay, with Skinner, and how they come in, because if you don't, you'll get lost, right? So ABC, let's write it down on the whiteboard. Okay, let's share the screen here, and then we'll go back to the video. Okay. Okay, so ABC, let's write it down here. A, B, C. Okay.
D.
Out. No, there's no D here. Okay. So there's no D. So it's ABC only. You have to only know.
behavior يا مستر.
Yes, ABC schedule. So what do we say A?
behavior صح؟
Excellent. B behavior. Good job, Mazen. B is behavior. Okay. So
Thank
ماذا
you.
لا مس يوسف؟
لا هو ماشي يا عم، فوق يا عم فوق.
مس لا مس
Yusuf, who said B?
ايوه
Okay. Excellent,
أنا.
Yusuf.
يوسف his name is يوسف شاهين.
Okay. Excellent job, Yusuf. Okay. So B is behavior. B is for behavior. Behavior comes in second step, right, in the schedule. So the second event. Okay, this is important to have it after each other. You can't have one before the other. So in order. That's why it's called a schedule. Okay. What about the first event? What is the first event? Let's put it here. Let's text. Yes. Okay, the first event. What is it called? What does A represent? Yes, Mazen. You get extra credit when you share with the class.
طب حد يغششني وانا اقول للمس.
Okay, who wants to help out Mazen? A. Who knows A? Antecedent.
شايفينك يا راجل بتحط الموبايل عشان تغش يا راجل.
accommodation يا مس؟
Yes.
ايوه accommodation دي
Help
ايوه
out
دي.
your friends.
صح يا مس؟
Yeah. So who if you can help out your friends, that's great. Also, you get extra credit, and also you are
أنا
participating.
قلتها.
ايوه انت
kind of review.
ساعدتني اسكت.
حطي بونص يا مس، بونص.
Yes.
لا بونس فور
Let's-
مي مش فور يو.
Okay,
انت هيلب مي.
Okay, so we said
السي
first
معروفة.
event is
سي
antecedent.
فور معروفة مش سي.
C, what is C?
قولها يا شاهين عشان اقولها صح.
مش فاكر بقى السي كانت ايه؟ كلاس معرفش.
Okay.
ممكن كات او
صح.
قاري يعني.
C is not cat. After the behavior, what comes in afterwards? So you have antecedent, the stimuli or the event before the actual behavior, and then the behavior.
كلاس ورك.
Afterwards, the C is consequence. Okay.
ايوه هي دي.
كونسنت. هي كلاس وورك كونسنت نفس
Excellent.
الكلام، نفس الحروف، نفس كل.
Exactly.
كل حاجة.
Consequence. Okay. So
هات لي اتنين من
let's put
بتاع دول
consequence,
يا شاهين.
and consequence comes in third event, right? So. Okay. First event antecedent, second event B is for behavior, and third event consequence. Okay? Okay, so number one, as I said, is it's all in order. That's why it's called a schedule. A schedule means that it's in order. So like the schedule of the calendar, you have 1st of January, the first day, 2nd of January, the second day, right? You can't have, for example, 2nd of January, then 1st. You can't have 2-1, right? You have to have 1, 2, 3, 4 in order. That's why it's called the schedule, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. The same thing here. It's called a schedule because it's in order, okay? So it's pretty simple. So schedule, because in order. You cannot have it out of order, because in order, okay? A, B, C. So if we're saying it's a schedule, and we say because it's in order, right? So what does that mean? What comes first, second, third? Can someone help us out here? Okay, Abdullah Safad.
comes يا مس
Yes. What comes first, second, third?
ايه اللي comes مش فاهم اي حاجه.
So we said that ABC comes in order. It's a schedule. Okay, so you can't have BCA or CB or CBA, right? In another mixture. It
Yes,
comes
yes.
A, B, C. So A first, then B, then C. A represents antecedent, B represents behavior, C represents consequence. Okay, so you have first event, second event, third event. Okay, the first event is the antecedent, A. The second event is the behavior, B. The third event is the consequence, C. You'll find that this is very important for you to know. We'll move on in Skinner when we talk about his different experiments, okay? Or anything afterwards this semester we'll talk about Skinner. You'll find that he uses a lot from, it's called ABC, okay? This is also used in experiments and other tools to be used in behavior therapy, in the world of behavior therapy, in the world of behavior psychology. Okay, so first event is A, antecedent. The second event is B, behavior. Third event is C, consequence. Okay?
Miss,
Yes. Yes, and please ask me if you have any questions.
I was just saying, I attend lesson and good morning.
Good morning, how are you? How is everything? This is Yusuf Hifni, right? No, Abdullah Safad. Okay. Good morning, how are you? How is everything? Good? Okay, I was just talking to them about your example, and we're here talking about the ABC schedule. So everyone who came in right now, I want you to know this is the ABC schedule we took last time with Skinner. Okay, we're now talking about Skinner, and then we're going to talk about more in-depth behavior. Okay, yes, I can hear all of you. Okay, thank you, Ragad. Okay, and we will now talk about the ABC schedule. As I was saying, A means antecedent is the first event. B means behavior, the second event. C means consequence, the third event. Okay? It's called a schedule because it comes in order. It's very important. You have to have the antecedent first, then the behavior, then the consequence. If you mix up this order, then it's not part of the ABC schedule. The ABC schedule is antecedent, behavior, and consequence. Okay? The ABC schedule you'll find is used a lot in behavior therapy and also in the experiments of Skinner. Now let's focus on experiment of Skinner here with the mouse. Remember the mouse when it pushed the button or the lever to put down the food? That was the antecedent, pushing down the lever. The behaviors of the food came down, the mouse saw it. That's the second event. The third event, the consequence, what happened when the mouse saw the food? What was the consequence? What was C? What was C in that sense? Let us think about it. I want you to think about it. What's C? So, when the mouse looks at the food, what does the mouse do? What does the mouse do when it looks at the food? It eats it, right? So the mouse looked at the food and ate the food. Okay? Very important. I want you to think with me. So I don't want you to take it as like, for example, granted that I'm explaining or the actual theory. Because in psychology, especially with Skinner, I want to be more interactive so that it kind of is alive for you. Okay? Because it can be very mundane and it can be very redundant and you don't understand the difference. So I want you to look at it as the actual experiment. Okay? The first event is the antecedent, where the mouse comes, pushes down the lever, the button, okay? That's the antecedent, the event basically that comes before the actual behavior, okay? It's called antecedent, represented as A. That's the first event. The second event is the behavior. The behavior is that the food goes down and the mouse looks at the food. What is the consequence of this behavior? The third event. What does the mouse do after it looks at the food and the food goes down? So the food goes down, the mouse looks at the food. What is the consequence right away? Obviously, this is really quick, right? What's the consequence right away? What does the mouse do when it looks at the food? Someone help me out here. I want to think.
Wants to eat.
Wants to eat it, exactly. It's common sense, right? Yeah, that's it. Okay? It wants to eat it. That's the consequence. I want you to know that sometimes in psychology you find it's really common sense, you know, is what's important here is that you label each event and you make it as clear as possible, the actual behavior and what comes before, comes after, so that afterwards when you refer to it, you can, you know, refer to it for experiment reasons, you can refer to it for even for therapy. You'll find in behavior therapy, they use this a lot. Like for example, you have a student that is not studying maybe, okay? And he goes to the counseling office. So what the counselor asks him or her to do is that I want you to make a schedule, okay? I want you to show me what happens before you don't study, the actual behavior of not studying, and then after, what is the consequence? Okay, so this is an example of how you can use this. Another example is, for example, maybe you have a client in the clinic, okay, who always, you know, has issues that get scared of elevators, maybe. Okay, every time this person goes in an elevator, gets scared, and so he went to you as a therapist. You as a therapist, you can give him this ABC. Okay, what happened before? What did you think before you went to the elevator? When you go in the elevator and you get scared, and then what was the consequence? Okay, so this can be used in everyday life. Yes, so I want you to look at it as something that Skinner created in the behavior world, so that you can kind of organize and label the behavior of the animal, the person, or any being that you want to label. Okay, is that clear, or do you have any questions? Okay, so
No, thank you.
I'm going to ask you, why is it called a schedule? Why is it called a schedule?
To know يعني مش تنظم الوقت أو حاجة زي كده صح؟
For the time, this is who's with me right now? Yusuf Shaheen, excellent.
Yusuf.
Yes. So Yusuf, for the time, and the time is that it's consequent, one after each other, right? So A, B, C. You can't have C, B, A. That's wrong. Okay, that's not ABC schedule. The schedule is that it's in order, consecutive order. You can't mix it. Okay, that's the schedule part. So A first, antecedent, that's the first event. B second, behavior, the second event, and C third, consequence, third event. Okay, you cannot have behavior, antecedent, consequence. That's wrong. That's not the schedule. The schedule is stuck to a kind of consequence that comes after each other. A, B, C. Okay, that's why it's called a schedule. Okay, great. Any questions? Yes? Okay, so right now when we talked about the ABC schedule, we will go into what we talked about last time also for Skinner. Abdullah's here. What we talk about the dog example, you have your friends over and you're at lunch, okay? You have lunch and maybe you got delivery, okay? There's really good food, pizza, let's say. and then the dog comes in and gets the food. You don't want the dog to come and get the food and eat it when your friends are here. So what would you do?
I would put him food in his plate,
Excellent job.
or put him in a room
Yes.
away from the food.
Good job. That's an excellent answer. Okay, so last time we talked about punishment, right? Here, who said this, Abdullah or someone else? Abdullah Safti. Excellent. This kind of form is obviously not punishment, but what is it? What are you doing here? So you're not punishing the dog, but so you're not punishing the dog, but you are kind of,
I'm just teaching him not to take food.
Excellent job. Teaching him not to eat with you guys and to eat in the room, right? So he can get the food, but you are teaching him not to eat with you guys and to eat in the room, right? Okay.
Yes.
So you are kind of taking away his privilege to eat with you and eating in the room. Now, this is a different kind of, you can say it's like a different kind of punishment. It's not really punishment. It's more taking away. When you take away, it's different than punishment. Punishment is kind of that you give. Okay, you give a kind of, screaming, shouting, punishing. But what you said today is you are taking away a privilege that, in a way, to teach him that you have to be in the room. And that way, next time, he would do it alone, or you would help him out again, and he would know that the ethics and rules in the house is that you have to be in the room. You can't eat with us, right? Okay, excellent job. So this last time we talked about it, remember, in the box, okay, with the reinforcement and the punishment, right? You have a box. Let me get the box from the PowerPoint presentation. Let me share it with you 1 second. What else do you remember from the box we talked about?
Miss,
Yes.
ممكن can you please admit Sayed?
Yes, I did.
Oh, okay.
Thank you. Okay. Okay, let me just get I think it's here, yes. Yes, it's here. Okay, so now we're talking about the box for Skinner. Before we talked about the schedule, ABC schedule. If you came in new, like Said and others who came in later, make sure you review it, okay? You look at the session and you review it, and you also review the ABC schedule from the video, okay? So the ABC schedule is in the video also, okay? So make sure you review it, okay? Okay, so let's go back to here. This is the box. Can you hear me? Yes, okay, great. So here in the box, you have positive, which you add stimulus. So stimulus is anything that, alerts us, okay? So for example, you scream, it's a stimulus. You smile, it's a stimulus, okay? So yes, Yusuf Diab, you had a question.
مس هو مفيش بوكس باين عندي معلش بس.
Okay, thank you. Okay, let us share it here. Okay, you share. Yes. Okay, can you see it right now? Can everyone see the box or no? Okay.
Yes, yes.
Yes, okay, excellent. Okay, so let's start with the stimulus. The stimulus is anything that you know alerts you or alerts a being or alerts the person. Like for example, When I'm talking right now to you, that's a stimulus, right? When I say hi, that's a stimulus, okay? If we say high five, that's a stimulus, okay? So all of that is stimulus. Food is a stimulus, right? You put, you add it, it alerts you, it's kind of like, it's right there, right? It's a stimulus, okay? Sound, food, object, a kind of event, a kind of action, that's all the stimulus, okay? So reinforcement, increase, maintain behavior. Okay, so the reinforcement means that you are, for example, reinforcement means that you are increasing the behavior, okay, or you're maintaining the behavior. That's reinforcement. Okay, and basically reinforcement, what reinforcement does is that it increases the behavior and maintains the behavior. Okay, so for example, for the dog, if the dog comes in and you're eating with your friends, right? Pizza. And then you give pizza to the dog and you're very nice to him and your friends and he sits down. Obviously, this is a reinforcement rather than punishment, right? So you reinforce the dog so that every time this happens, he'll sit down with you because you accepted him. You added a pleasant stimuli. And pleasant stimuli is that you accepted him sitting down, you were really happy with him, you gave him the pizza. And so obviously this would increase his behavior to sit down with you guys and maintain it. Rather than punishment. Punishment, if for example, like Abdullah said last time, he shouts and he punishes the dog, then obviously this is called aversive stimulus, okay? So it's a kind of stimulus, but it's aversive. So it's kind of offensive or kind of unpleasant, obviously, to the dog. This would decrease the behavior. Okay, so next time the dog would be scared or the dog would not come, and this would decrease the behavior of him coming and eating with you guys for lunch. Okay, pizza. Here, let's give the example of a dog with a negative. You remove the stimuli. Okay, so for reinforcement here, you remove a aversive stimulus to increase or maintain the behavior. Okay, so here obviously removing would be, for example, with the dog and the lunch is that you it may be that you always shouted at him when he came, right? Suddenly that day you have a friend that likes dogs and he likes your dog a lot, so you don't shout. Okay, when you don't shout, obviously you remove that aversive stimulus. Okay, and so this would increase or maintain the behavior of the dog to come and sit down with you guys for lunch, right? The same thing here in the punishment for this segment of removing stimulus. You remove pleasant stimulus to decrease the behavior. So for example, for Abdullah, for example, today gave us a really nice example that he said instead of him sitting down with us, he goes in the room and sits down there and eats the pizza, okay? This can be seen as removing the pleasant stimulus of sitting down with friends, right? Okay, and that's what's important here. So removing sitting down with friends and sitting down with you, instead he sits down in the room. This will obviously decrease the behavior of him just suddenly coming up and, sitting down with you guys for lunch. He would know that if he wants to eat, he has to eat in the room, okay? So this is the difference between positive, negative, reinforcement, punishment. Okay, it's like a box. So let's right now go into each box. So here, the first box here, would have both reinforcement and positive. So positive, you add a stimulus. Okay, you're adding a stimulus, and here obviously it's adding a stimulus that reinforces, so increases or maintains the behavior. So for example, in this case for the dog, if you want the dog to sit down with you, you would give him the food, you tell him come and sit down, you play with him. This is all adding positive stimulus for him to increase or maintain the behavior to sit down with you guys for lunch. However, if opposite, you don't want the dog to sit down with you guys, what would you do here in this box? This arrow goes back to here, okay? Okay, so what would you do in this case? In this one, that you would add aversive stimulus. What is aversive stimulus in this case? Let's think what we said before. What is the aversive stimulus in this case? Yes, Ragad, I heard you want to say something about it. So think about it. Okay, what is aversive stimulus? Everyone, yes? So adding aversive stimulus. What is aversive stimulus case under punishment? And positive, you adding aversive stimulus here, it's positive. You're adding something, so it's positive. So what is aversive stimulus? It's you are adding shouting or a punishment. A punishment, aversive, that's very offensive. That's, you know, not nice, opposite. It's not nice for the dog or the person or whatever. So for example is maybe you're with your sister, okay? And you are in a restaurant with your family. Your sister is maybe 5 years old, okay? And so basically, your sister, you know, has the water and wants to drink water, but instead of drinking it, she by mistake, you know, she by mistake has the cup of water broken on the floor. Okay, she pushes it to the right of the table and the cup is gone. Okay, so in this way, what would you do aversive stimulus? Something that's offensive for your 5-year-old sister. What's an example? Would you clap and say bravo and say, you know, good job? Is that an aversive stimulus? No, right? Obviously not. That's pleasant stimulus, right? Bravo, clapping, good job is pleasant stimulus. It's increase and maintains because it's very pleasant for the person or the animal, or whatever person you're dealing with, old or young, okay? This is a common trait. So if you clap, if you sing, if you say good job, hi, how are you? You know, if you say I love you, you're a great girl, a great boy, whatever you want to say, that's pleasant, right? That would increase and maintain the behavior, okay? Or with a dog, with your friends, oh, I love you, you know, you play, you play with him, you give him a nice pizza, that's pleasant, okay? You're my great friend, that is all pleasant, okay? Aversive is opposite. Aversive is the one here in the pink box. This is really important to know the difference, okay? So pleasant is you say bravo, good job, and everything that we talked about, all these are including pleasant stimulus, okay? So if you're a teacher, good job, great work, right? If you're a friend, you know, you're a great friend to have, thank you so much, right? So aversive stimulus is opposite, which means that you shout, you scream, things that are offensive for the person or the dog or whoever you're dealing with. You scream, you shout, you don't like the person, you don't talk to him, you don't talk to her, you don't reply to your friend on the phone. That's aversive, right? On purpose. You block on Facebook. That's all aversive stimulus. Okay, everything that offends the person. It obviously decreases the behavior. Yes. So pleasant stimulus is pleasant for the person or for who you're dealing with, and aversive stimulus is opposite. It's not pleasant. It will decrease the behavior. Okay, so the first part is obviously with positive, you add stimulus. The first part is a reinforcement, increases and maintains the behavior. So clapping, shouting. The second part is punishing. So in the example of the girl who, of your sister, your 5-year-old sister, who by mistake, she fell the cup on the floor, the cup fell down, and everything, everything became water on the floor. What would an aversive stimulus be with your sister? What would you do? Give me an example before we go. What would be an aversive stimulus? that you would shout at her, right? Or you would scream, or obviously, you don't want to shout and scream because that's really not, that's too much, right? Because here there's ethics and morals. We'll talk about it afterwards. So obviously there's a limit, okay? But it's the same thing for reinforcement. There are ethics and morals for it in the experiment and in real life. When you deal with psychology, when you deal with therapy, there are many ethics and morals. It depends on the stage. Sometimes it's nice to give a certain reinforcement like candy, sometimes like a jest, sometimes no. Reinforcement by itself is that you don't give. Okay, you just leave the person to do the exam, to do the actual activity, the behavior, without any reinforcement. That by itself is reinforcement in that sense. Okay, so here the punishment, the same thing. Obviously, you don't want to shout and scream. You're in the restaurant, and it's not nice to shout and scream, right? Especially as a 5-year-old, it won't be nice. So you have to kind of give another aversive stimulus, which is maybe you would, a kind of punishment that would decrease the behavior is that you would tell her to to clean after her, for example, maybe. Or aversive stimulus would be that no, don't do that, in that sense. No, don't do that. That is also first stimulus, because sometimes children do cry when you tell them no, don't do that, right? So this depends, okay? So this is, in this example, to decrease the behavior for the little girl, you would say, no, don't do that. Or this is bad, don't do it, okay? And she may cry, or, it would decrease her behavior because it's kind of not nice, right? She doesn't like the fact that she didn't do something good, okay? So this is important. Yes, so this is the difference between pleasant stimulus and aversive stimulus. When you add a pleasant stimulus, that's a reinforcement. You increase and maintain the behavior, okay? When you add an aversive stimulus, which is something offending or not nice for the person or for whoever you're dealing with, it decreases the behavior, okay? That's according to Skinner. Do you agree with that in life? Do you find that that's true? He did, by the way, many experiments, and most of them, if not all, they show it is true. However, obviously, there are exceptions, and here we'll talk about culture, and also maybe it's not always true, right? But do you find that that's always true in real life? It's kind of common sense in that sense. What do you think? Okay, I want you to think about it. I want to review for when we meet next time, which is, I think, tomorrow. So tomorrow we'll meet. I want you to make sure you know the ABC schedule. Why is schedule? Because it's an order. ABC, antecedent, behavior, consequence. It comes after each other in consequence, in order. Okay, so you first have antecedent, behavior, consequence. And I want you to know how to give an example, right? So an example is, for example, like the mouse or in real life, okay? So make sure you review that. It's in the video, it's really important. The other thing is here, it's about the box. Okay, so today we talked about the difference between pleasant and aversive stimulus. And here we are talking that this box is both positive and reinforcement. So positive add stimulus, here you're adding, so it's positive, and it's a reinforcement because you're adding a pleasant stimulus, okay? Like clapping, saying bravo. When you add, which is positive, okay, the same thing here, but the difference here is that it's punishment. Why is it a punishment here? Why is the punishment? Because of is there a pleasant stimulus here? No, that'll be reinforcement, right? The aversive stimulus, okay, you're shouting, you're screaming. It's not nice, right? The other person will not like it, so it will decrease the behavior. Okay, is that clear? Yes? Okay, so we're almost done. The session will be cut, but before we go, I just want to make sure that you know the difference between aversive and pleasant stimulus. Okay, so aversive is punishment because you shout and scream. Pleasant is reinforcement of it, and it maintains, increases the behavior because you smile, you do something pleasant for the other person. Okay, and also don't forget to do the homework.